Hello students, today I am going to take a lesson from Hornbill. We will start a poem, and the name of the poem is A Photograph. In this module, we will see about the author and the poem and the theme, as well as the explanations of all the stanzas, as well as some difficult words which is taken from the poem will also be discussed. Name of the poet is Shirley Towson, and she was born in 1924 in England. She was a writer, editor of magazines, and she is the poet who wrote this poem. The name of the poem is A Photograph. Now you look at that screen. There is a photograph, and in your textbook, if you see the first stanza, that first stanza depicts this photograph. Let us see how the poet has described this picture or this photograph in the first stanza. Name of the poem is A Photograph. The picture which you have seen, she describes in this stanza. You can see, if you have a textbook, you can go through it. The cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands, and see the big girl some 12 years or so. Later we will see in the explanation. This is the description of this picture. The picture is, you can once again you can see the picture in your screen. She described this picture. Now again in your screen you see another picture. In this picture, 4 persons are there. Already we have seen 3 girls and one more man who is ready to take a snap of these girls. Let us see how the poet depicts or describes these scene or this picture in her poem. This is the picture which you have seen. In addition to that picture, you see in very close all the 3 girls are there, and in this stanza we will see the depiction of these 2 pictures. All 3 stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera. A sweet face my mother's that was before I was born, and the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. This is how she described these 2 pictures. Now we have seen 3 pictures. First picture, she described in the first stanza other two pictures in the second stanza. Now once again you look at the screen, another picture. Two pictures are there, and on your right hand side if you see, a small picture is there, the three girls are sitting on the seashore, and on the other hand, your left hand side, you see a grown up woman is there and she is laughing. Let us see how the poet Shirley Tolson describes these two pictures. Some 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot. See, Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed us for the beach. The sea holiday was her past, mine is her laugher. So this is the depiction or the description of that two pictures. In that small pictures where we have seen three children, they are poet's mother and other two cousins, and the big one, the grown up one, she is actually the big girl, now she is a grown up. When she looks at her own picture, she laughs. This is the description of this that we have seen in this third stanza. Now one more picture you see, the woman who was laughing, she is there in the top of this picture, still she is laughing, but on the other side, below to that picture, look at that, the woman, that she is very sad, she is thinking very seriously. So these two pictures, one is of the poet's mother who is laughing, and the one who is serious or sad or unhappy or thinking very seriously is the author or the poet of this poem, Shirley Tolson. Let us see how she describes these two pictures in the last stanza. Both lie with the laboured ease of loss. Now she has been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived, and of this circumstance there is nothing to say at all, it's silence in silence. So in the last stanza she describes the pictures which we have just seen, the two pictures of her mother and of herself. Now let us discuss some words which is in the poem, which will help you to understand that poem very clearly. That cardboard, it is, all of you know that what is cardboard right from the childhood till now. You might have used to write an examination, bringing that cardboard, keeping that answer sheet on your cardboard, you used to write that answers. So you are familiar with this. Let us see the meaning. The meaning of this cardboard is material like very thick, stiff paper, usually pale brown in color, used especially for making boxes. Another word is paddling. Paddling, the word meaning is here in this poem, to walk with no shoes or socks on through water that is not very deep, often at the edge of the beach. This is called paddling. Simple meaning is walking on the shallow sea or shallow water. Next is terribly. Terribly means very badly. Transient, which lasts for only a short time, or temporary or short period of time. Another word is snapshots. Snapshots, we know that photos, but here meaning you have to understand why this word is used. Snapshots, actually it means an informal photograph. Wherever we go, nowadays it become a fashion of taking selfies. So these are snapshots. We are not prepared to have a photograph anywhere at any time. When you get a photograph, that's a snapshot. Rye. Rye, the word meaning is, it's a mixed kind of feelings. So what kind of feeling we'll see? The meaning is showing that you find a bad or difficult situation slightly funny. It's two different situations. One is difficult, another is funny. Next word is labored. Labored means which needs a lot of effort. Often because someone is tired or very hard work, we can say, which needs lot of efforts. Next is circumstance. Circumstance here meaning is an event or a condition connected with what is happening or has happened. Now the theme of the poem. What does a photograph refers? Shirley Tolson's poem, a photograph, is a tribute to her mother, written for her mother. The poem describes three stages in the passage of time. We know that time is moving. Three different stages it describes. In the first stage, the photograph shows the poet's mother standing at the beach enjoying her holiday with her two girl cousins that we have seen in the picture. She was around 12 years old at the time. And the second stage is, it takes us 20 or 30 years later. Now she is grown up. The mother would laugh at the way she had her cousin were dressed up for the beach holiday. By seeing that own picture, mother laughs at. In the third stage, the poet remembers the dead mother with a heavy heart. The photograph revives a nostalgic feeling in the poet, very unhappy feeling. She longs for something which is not there. So now we will see the explanation of the poem. Once again I read that first stanza, we will see the explanation. The cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands, and see the big girl some 12 years or so. Simple description of a photograph. Let us see what is the explanation of these 4 lines. An old photograph of the poet's mother, which was pasted on cardboard, makes the poet recall the old memories of her mother's childhood. The photograph is a depiction of her mother's enjoyable moments at a sea beach with her two cousins who were younger to her. They were walking in shallow water with bare feet near the beach. The mother was standing in the middle and holding hands of her two cousins who were standing on each side. The poet's mother was 12 years old then. It shows that the photograph was very old, but the poet has kept in very carefully as it reminded her of sweet memories of her mother's childhood. So this is the simple description or the explanation of that first stanza. Two cousins are there, mother is there, where they are and what is the age of the mother and what does that picture depict. Second stanza, once again I read that lines. All three stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera, a sweet face, my mother's, that was before I was born, and the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. Let us see how the poet Shirley Tolson, she describes this in these lines about that photographs or about her feelings. The photograph shows that all three girls, the poet's mother and her two cousins, stood still and smiled at the camera. When their uncle clicked their photograph at the sea beach. As we have seen a picture where four peoples are there, all the three girls are standing on a beach, and on the other hand a man is there who was ready to take a photograph of these girls. As the weather was windy at the time, their hair was flying over their smiling faces. The expression of the faces of the poet's mother and her cousins was that of happiness and enjoyment. And the mother was looking very pretty at the time. So what we see, who has taken that photographs and how many of them are there? What we have seen in the picture, three girls are there. One is poet's mother and other two girls are the poet's cousins. And how she describes, all the threes are standing still and smiling to get a photograph by her uncle. And uncle is also ready to click that photograph. Where they are standing, that is also mentioned. They are standing on the sea beach. And why their hairs are not combed? The reason is that the weather was windy at the time and their hair was flying over their smiling faces. So in this poem, their faces are not clearly visible. That is what the poet says. Why? Because the weather was windy and hair was also flying, though they were smiling to get a photograph. The expression of the faces of the poet's mother and her cousins was that of happiness and enjoyment. If we look at their faces, they look very happy. The mother as well as the cousin of the poet. Why? We know that because of that holiday they went to the sea beach to enjoy the holidays. So the mother was looking very pretty at the time. In that poem we see Shirley Tolson says, when she was 12 years of age and when the photograph was taken, mother was very beautiful, looks very beautiful when the photograph was taken. This is what she says. And in that stanza, the poet says, everything has changed since then. The meaning is that when that photograph was taken, other things were changed. How? She says, her mother grew up, now she was dead, and the poet was reviving her memories. What we see? What changes has come? Mother has grown up and even she has died. She is no more. And now the poet is grown up and now she is reviving the memories of her mother. The only thing that has remained unchanged is the sea which was washing the feet of all three girls. And one more information that we get from the poem is, what is not changed? The sea is not changed. Maybe some of the part of that sea might have been changes, very less changes might have come. But as that girl has changed, she has grown up and even she has died, she delivered a child, likewise many things has happened with that girl when the photograph was taken. Many changes has come, but what about the sea? Sea still remains same. Very less changes might have come. The sea which one can see in the picture. The mention of the word transient indicates, one word is used, transient feet. So, the word transient indicates the ever changing lives of human beings. Transient, we know that stays for only short period of time. So, it indicates ever changing lives of human beings. Human beings' life is changing as well as the shortness of their stay on this world. How long the human being live in this world? Maybe 70, maybe 60, maybe 20, maybe 40. We do not know about it, but they live for a short period of time. But what about the nature? Nature doesn't change. In contrast to the eternality of nature, you see that eternality, it lasts for very long time, or it lasts forever, we can say, eternality. The girl's life changed drastically during this period. Within that short period of time, that girl's life, the girl which was big in that picture, maybe of 12 years age, the poem says, many drastic changes has come in her life. Even she has lost her life. But what about the sea? She has not changed. The stanza beautifully explains the transient nature of human being. So, in the third stanza, what we have seen, it depicts or it describes how that life of the human being, how much short the life of the human being is. That she beautifully described in this stanza. Let us see one more stanza is there in the poem. Some 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot. See Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed us for the beach. The sea holiday was her past, mine is her laughter, both rive with the labored ease of loss. So, let us see what she describes in these lines. Even after 20-30 years later, the mother would look at her photograph and laugh nostalgically, remembering the happy memories of her past. Mother would look at the photograph and comment on the dress worn by the cousins Dolly, Betty and herself. So, what she describes in these lines? Suppose the same photograph, Shirley Tolson's mother looks, which is taken by her uncle. If she looks at the photograph even after 20-30 years, but we know that the photograph was taken at the age of 12. Suppose she attains 30 years of age and she looks at the photograph, the poet says she would also laugh, nostalgically remembering the happy memories of her past. Nostalgically, something she has lost and she longs for it. She would like to have that moment, but in reality that moment has passed. So, she says mother would look at the photograph and comment on the dress worn by the cousins Dolly, Betty and herself. So, how they were dressed while they went to sea beach for their holiday. And the poet says in that line, sea holiday was her mother's past and her mother's laughter has become a thing of the past for the poet, as her mother was now dead. So, what we see? Sea holiday was her mother's past. It was a thing of past for her mother, and her mother's laughter has become a thing of past for the poet. Why? Because her mother is not there, she is dead. This is what the poet says. For both of them, for mother, that sea holiday is a past, and the laugh of the mother is a thing of past for the poet. So that is why she says both lie with. Both means these are the two things. One is sea holiday and another is laugh. Both the things of the thing of the past. So the poet still remembers how her mother would laugh at the photograph resembling the sea holiday with a fondness. Fondness means like, too much likeness, too much love of something, we can say, as well as a sense of loss. See the two things. One is fondness, too much of likeness of something, and another is a sense of loss. The same photograph gives two different types of emotions. One is sense of longingness and another is sense of loss, because that time would never come back. That is why it is a loss. In the same way, the poet feels nostalgic thinking about her mother. So here the Shirley Tolson, she also longs for something else which has gone forever, we can say. In the same way, the poet Shirley Tolson feels nostalgic thinking about her mother who is no more, and her laughter which has become a thing of the past. The words labor and ease are opposite to each other, but describes the same entity or loss. What the poet says, the words labored and ease, both are opposite. It gives opposite meaning. Labored means which needs lot of hard work, and on the ease here meaning is relaxation, which needs no energy even to take a rest. So both the words have opposite meanings to each other, but describe the same entity, same things. What is that? That is lost. At the end of the poem, you will see the word silence. So what does it mean? Why that words are used? So once again we will see the last lines. The words labored and ease are opposite to each other, but describe the same entity or the loss. So if you look at the poem, in the last lines, it silences. So what does the poet mean? What is that makes silence? It silences. It's silences, he says. What is that? That is the death of the mother or the loss of the mother that makes her silent. That's why the poet doesn't want to say anything else which keeps her silent. Okay, thank you. And in the next module, we will see some question answers from this poem. Thank you.